On this edition of Good Day DePaul, Chicago is rocked by the killing of 3 high school students in downtown and the north side.
Migrants. Chicago is still trying to cope with the influx.
And health insurance. DePaul reveals details about its new plan for students. I'm Lena Gebhardt.
And I'm Will Frankel, and this is Good Day DePaul.
Two shocking crimes in Chicago are causing anger and anxiety throughout the city. This time, the victims were 3 high school students, each shot and killed. Good Day DePaul's Michaela Wilson has our report.
In the span of less than a week, Chicago saw 2 separate fatal shootings involving high school students, shedding light on the continuing problem of gun violence among the city's youth. On January 31st, a quiet afternoon in the Edgewater neighborhood on the north side turned tragic when gunfire erupted in the 1200 block of West Thorndale Avenue. 3 students from Nicholas Senn High School were shot from a passing vehicle, leaving one 16-year-old Davion Gibson dead and 2 others wounded. The horrifying incident followed another deadly attack on Friday, January 26th in the Loop, where 2 students from Innovations High School were shot and killed by masked attackers near Washington and Wabash. With these incidents being close to both campuses, DePaul student Adriana Terracciano said it makes her think twice about her safety.
The recent shooting made me not feel as safe as I always have in Chicago. I knew I wasn't always going to be 100% safe coming to school here, but the fact that it happened so close, kind of to home, because it was right by my sister's campus because she goes to SAIC, and my cousin works in the Loop, so it was just really close to home, this one, and nothing's ever happened like that, and it just made me wake up that I am in a major city where violence is very prevalent.
Mayor Johnson commented on the shootings, saying the city is committed to ensuring children's safety and will not allow these acts of terror to disrupt the community.
The only way we're going to get through this is if we work together. All of us. Because these tragedies cannot continue.
Many Chicagoans are calling for action to combat the rising numbers of youth gun violence. Of the 2,452 shootings that happened last year, 44 of them took place in the Chicago public schools. Meanwhile, schools citywide are trying to help students de-escalate conflicts and heal from the trauma that gun violence can cause.
It's important for the adults at the school and for parents to be a little bit more proactive in terms of encouraging the students, one, if to either talk to a counselor, or 2, to talk to someone else if it's not a counselor that they already have a good relationship, or if it's someone just coming in for a couple days immediately.
As many gather to remember the young lives that were lost, Chicago is still holding hope for a future where students can go to school without the fear of violence. CPD said they're working towards having more police presence during school arrivals and dismissals. Police say that both shootings are still under investigation and don't believe at this time that either incidents are connected. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Michaela Wilson.
The migrant crisis continues in Chicago with no real solution in sight. I looked into what's being done to help the migrants.
Since last fall, thousands of migrants have arrived in Chicago. This began when Texas Governor Greg Abbott started busing them from the southern border to northern cities. Abbott claims he's doing this to show the strain immigration is having on southern states. Since the migrants have arrived, Chicago has struggled to find housing arrangements and provide necessary resources for the newcomers. So other groups, including one at DePaul, are trying to help.
We have actually another office on this floor full of clothing. The city is looking for pillows that are new and winter wear that is at least gently used.
Nonprofit organizations like the Catholic Archdiocese, Chicago Food Pantry, and DePaul Sanctuary have stepped in to try to give migrants the help they need, while the mayor and aldermen decide next steps.
That's helping the Venezuelans. They're bused to the Daily Center and they help them fill out paperwork. And that might seem like a small thing, but it's actually huge. The lawyers groups can't do it. They're overwhelmed, and so they're asking for volunteers.
A plan to house many of the migrants in a tent structure on an empty lot in Brighton Park on the south side was approved in October, but chemical testing led Governor Pritzker to declare the site as unsafe and said the migrants could not live there. Currently, they're being housed in shelters across Chicago. Mayor Johnson recently extended the 60-day limit on migrants in shelters until mid-March so evictions don't occur in the cold winter months.
So we have made the decision to extend the shelter stay policy.
But some feel this is not a permanent solution.
We were calling for initially was to end the eviction policy, period. They pushed it back to March. So I think we're going to be back here in March asking the same questions.
Governor Pritzker has voiced concerns about the mayor's handling of the crisis, but Johnson claims the state has the ability to provide more assistance and has yet to do so. Meanwhile, the Chicago City Council has yet to sign a new plan for housing the over 35,000 migrants who have arrived since last fall. As the buses continue to come, the city has ordered that the bus companies must notify the city ahead of time if they are bringing in migrants. Similar orders have come from some of the suburbs where migrants have also been dropped off. With no end in sight, city officials struggle to agree on next steps. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Will Frankel.
The migrant problem in Chicago is a very personal one. It's impacting people who are coming here for a better life. Good Day DePaul's Hannah Lopez talked to one of those migrants and has her story.
In August of 2022, the city of Chicago welcomed their first bus of new migrant arrivals from the southern border. The city has welcomed over 35,000 migrants via buses and airplanes from Texas, according to the city of Chicago's New Arrivals Daily Snapshot. Over 13,000 of the new arrivals are currently living in temporary shelters throughout the city. In a shelter on the city's Lower West Side, one migrant and her family are hopeful for good opportunities. We went through a jungle, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, and Mexico before getting here. I came here with my 2 children, my husband, my mom, my sister's 3 children, and my sister's husband. We went through a jungle for 6 days. Then we got to Costa Rica. We went through some small countries that we thought we could get through in a day. Then we went through Honduras. It almost took about a day. And then the longest country that we went through was Mexico, which took 2 months because we had to stay there and work. And the journey through the, quote, beast was about a week until arriving to the U.S. It was tough. Thank God we made it. But the hardest was Mexico because you had to spend a lot of money and there's a lot of mafias. And they took a lot of money from us and the beast. But thank God there wasn't anything bad. And we got here. Yes, it took us 6 days, but at least we got here safe. In Mexico, there were a lot of good people that gave us food. In other countries, no one did. I got to Chicago on January 5th. On January 9th, we got to the shelter, and we were there for 4 days, sleeping in some of the buses that would welcome us in. We've been here for 20-something-ish days. We hope that everything goes smoothly like we want it to be able to stay here because it looks like a really calm place, and that has good opportunities. For the most part, I left Venezuela because of the economy. In Venezuela, your salary is about $5 a month. You could work all day in the month, and that's still your salary. Where a kilo of rice is about $3. Same with harin, pan flour, where you can't eat meat because it's impossible. Imagine if you get paid $5 a month, and with that, you buy 1 kilo of rice and 1 kilo of harin, pan flour. It's not good for our children. We're always looking for a better quality of life for them, and that's why we're here. For many migrants, whether it takes a couple of weeks or a couple of months, getting a better quality of life is their American dream. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Hannah Lopez.
DePaul is providing new details about its long-awaited student health insurance plan. The plan will cost students $800 per quarter or $1,200 per semester. It will cover students for a full calendar year and be available to all degree-seeking students, regardless of immigration status, place of residence, country of origin, or past medical history. Beginning next fall, undergraduate and graduate students will be required to have coverage and will automatically be enrolled in student health insurance plan. But they can opt out if they provide proof of other health coverage.
Next on Good Day DePaul, new problems for FAFSA, the student aid application.
And a losing season continues for the DePaul men's basketball team. All this and more when we return.
Today, the heroes that fight day in and day out on the front lines, those who are there, innovating in real time, saving lives and answering the call to care in times of crisis. American nurses. Nurses who have been there for each and every one of us in times of crisis for more than 150 years. Nurses are the pillar of strength and the foundation of healthcare and life itself. Nurses are there the day we are born. They are there when your family is in crisis, and they are there in the end. In confronting the most catastrophic health crisis in modern history, we must remember our American nurse heroes need our support as much as we need them. To show our gratitude for their courage and ensure they receive the critical education and support services they need, donate to the Coronavirus Response Fund for Nurses today, in honor of your American nurse hero.
More problems for FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Now, it's been delayed still another 2 months, this time due to a mistake in the application. This follows earlier delays at the end of last year. All this means students needing loans may not know how much they'll get until April, and that's very close to college decision day on May 1st.
An anti-Semitic incident at Loyola University, Chicago. It occurred at Halal, the Jewish center there. Students found a swastika drawn inside the halal space. The university says other obscene items were also drawn in the room a few days earlier.
In men's basketball, DePaul lost to St. John's 85-57. The Blue Demons are now 0-12 in the Big East and 3-20 overall. Meanwhile, the team says guard Caleb Wilson will miss the rest of the season with a wrist injury. Murphy's only played once since early January due to the injury. He's hoping to get a medical redshirt and return next year.
In women's basketball, DePaul lost a tough one to Georgetown, 44-42. The Blue Demons are now 11-13 on the season and 3-8 in the Big East.
In track and field, a big weekend for the DePaul's men's team at the Notre Dame Mayo Invitational. Darius Brown took first place in the 60-meter hurdles, and in doing so, broke the school record with a time of 7.7 seconds. In addition, Brown was on DePaul's winning 4x400-meter relay team, along with Charles Lewis, Daniel Fasasi, and Jarrell Terry. And Terry also won the 400 meters. Finally, Damian Rodriguez broke the school record in the 1-mile run.
Next on Good Day DePaul, Innovation Day 2024 at DePaul.
That story when we return.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links living organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the United States, 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you are someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
DePaul recently held its annual Innovation Day. The event focused on driving innovation for social good and addressing poverty, environmental sustainability, and artificial intelligence. More than 45 faculty, staff, and students presented their research and creative work.
That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels.
Thanks for watching. I'm Will Frankel.
And I'm Lena Gebhardt. Have a good day, DePaul.